I think we can close the doors. Deputy Director Hengen, ladies and gentlemen, dear members and friends of the European Microfinance Platform. Welcome to Luxembourg and welcome to the opening session of the European Microfinance Week 2023. A very warm welcome to you here in the room and to all those who are following us online now. Connecting the inclusive finance world. This is the tagline that we have below our European Microfinance Week logo. So connecting the inclusive finance world. And I have to admit that during the COVID pandemic, and even at its end, when the restrictions were removed, we were a little bit worried here at EMFP about whether people would get back to the old habits and going to conferences, and in particular, of course, attending our European Microfinance Week here in Luxembourg. So we did our best to build on the technical expertise we gained during the COVID years and integrate it to now offer a particularly inclusive European Microfinance Week with crucially important in-person experience. And I think that's really the most important thing and something which will never be replaced. And for those who can't be here, we also have the opportunity to join us online. Through this, we involve an even wider network of experts, especially in countries of emerging economies. And I think looking at the statistics that I just got now, and without any exaggeration, connecting the inclusive finance world has never been more true for the European Microfinance Week than this year, this week, because EMFP is very pleased and also very proud to welcome this year 659 registered participants, 428 in-persons and the others online. So you can imagine in the last days, for us, it was a little bit something like, wow. And because this is by far the highest number we have ever had here. And it really makes Luxembourg for these 3 days for this week, the center of financial inclusion in the world. And we are extremely happy. And this success is possible due to your great interest. So thank you very much for this. And also due to the excellent collaboration we have with several networks in the South, in Africa, in Latin America, in Asia. And some representatives are even here today. So thank you very much for coming and for your support. And thank you to your members for following us online. I strongly believe, and I said something like that already last year, but I strongly believe that this is really the future for organizations like EMFP. So retaining the indispensable human interaction, but complementing this with a hybrid function that continues one of the better legacies of COVID. So making EMFP's work more accessible to more people in more places. And now I would like to say thank you to our funders, the Luxembourg Ministry of Foreign and European Affairs Directorate for Development Cooperation, and the Luxembourg Ministry of Finance for their support. We are grateful as ever for your support, not only of our work, but also for the sector in general. I also would like to thank the EMW sponsors, and you will see them here. So our silver sponsors are the EIB, FMO, and Infine.lu. Our bronze sponsors, Frankfurt School of Finance and Management, Rabo Foundation, and Verdant Capital, as well as our other sponsors, Action, Aqua for All, Arendt, BNP Paribas, CMS Luxembourg, Linklaters, Oikocredit, and Opportunity International. Thank you also to our evening cocktail sponsors, ADA and Impact, and we are really looking forward to the launch of sunflower seeds this evening. And a big thank you goes also to our media partners, FinDev Gateway, Microcapital, Next Billion, and Portail FinDev for spreading the word, and also to our outreach partner, LuxFlag. And finally, I would like to thank the more than 145 speakers, panelists, and moderators of our more than 40 panels and all those who contributed to this conference with their excellent insights and their work. Next up, Ms. Geneviève Hengen, Deputy Director of at the Luxembourg Ministry of Foreign and European Affairs Directorate for Development Cooperation, will give the opening remarks of this conference, and this will be followed by a plenary session celebrating the 10th anniversary of our remarkable green, inclusive, and smart climate finance action group. A very long and a little bit complicated name, so friends can call the group just Green Action Group. And e-MFP is extremely glad and very proud to be home to our very active Green Action Group. It's a leader in the field and has been working on the topic for a decade, and that's why we are celebrating this, long before it became mainstream and the hot topic that it is today in our sector and in general. Their members, led by great action group heads, are pioneers in the field, deserve to be celebrated, and we will learn more about their remarkable achievements over the past 10 years and the evolution of green finance in general. Afterwards, there will be a short and certainly very inspiring fireside chat to look at the challenges and constraints faced by women entrepreneurs in Central America, and how an innovative partnership of public and private actors is designing financial solutions to overcome them and allow women in business to flourish. I wish you a very interesting afternoon and a great European Microfinance Week. And now I invite Madame Hengen to take the floor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christopher. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the government of Luxembourg, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the European Microfinance Week, which we are proud to be hosting again here in the heart of Luxembourg City. I am so pleased that so many experts, Christopher mentioned the record numbers, and prominent speakers with a diversity of backgrounds, but all with the common goal of promoting inclusive finance, are here today to lead and participate in the discussions. Over the coming 2 days, you will participate in many sessions on food security and nutrition with a focus on gender equality, and thus building on the momentum developed last year when financial inclusion that works for women was the topic of the week. This year's program also highlights the importance of green and inclusive finance. The topic to which many of you are contributing is also a focus area of the e-MFP's Green Action Group, who has become a key player in this regard. Indeed, based on the results of the e-MFP's most recent Financial Inclusion Compass survey, it can be argued that green and inclusive finance is the single most important and urgent area of inclusive finance today. The significance of this for food security and nutrition, particularly in Africa, was also highlighted just last month during the African Microfinance Week, which we organized together with the Togolese authorities and ADA in Lomé. And I'm pleased that we can give this topic a platform here in Luxembourg as well, as we open this year's Microfinance Week with a panel discussion on it. But before doing so, I wanted to draw your attention to and invite you to the award ceremony at the European Microfinance Award, which will take place tomorrow evening in the European Investment Bank. The theme of this year's award is inclusive finance for food security and nutrition. And it underlines the important contribution that financial inclusion can make in addressing the pressing issue of food insecurity and malnutrition. For us, it is clear that the fight against hunger can only be won if we consider it linked to other global challenges, such as poverty, persisting inequalities, and climate change. And in the same sense, financial inclusion should not be seen in isolation, but as an instrumental means to achieve broader objectives. Luxembourg's development cooperation is convinced that improvements in food security can have positive spillover effects, such as empowering women, mitigating climate change, and contributing to global health and sustainability. At tomorrow's award ceremony, you will meet people who have created a lasting impact in their communities by harnessing the potential of inclusive finance. And it will not only be an opportunity to celebrate them, but also to be inspired by their work. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a known fact that women in particular are exposed to the higher risks and increased vulnerability in the face of climate change, while at the same time, they have fewer tools at their disposal to cope with them. What might be less known is the links between these pressing issues and inclusive finance. Today, green inclusive finance covers a range of sectors, from sustainable agriculture to renewable energy and climate adaptation, based on the three fundamental concepts of building resilience, preventing environmental damage, and exploiting green opportunities. It plays a major role in implementing the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. By facilitating access to sustainable financial services, green inclusive finance is an important lever for improving the socioeconomic situation of the poorest. It can also play a crucial role in strengthening the resilience of the communities to extreme weather events, such as floods or droughts. Take, for example, digital bank accounts. They give people easier access to money in times of need, or insurance, which cushions losses in the event of climate shock and helping affected households to recover more quickly. Yet many people, particularly in countries vulnerable to climate change, still do not have access to these financial services. So, through political action in a number of national and international fora, through collaborative work with our bilateral, multilateral, public, private, and civil society partners, and by investing 1% of our GNI in the development cooperation, we want to contribute to the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you. Okay. So over the last decades, Luxembourg has grown to become a key center of excellence in inclusive finance. As such, the Grand Duchy is home to the headquarters of the European Microfinance Platform. We also host ADA, an NGO specialized in inclusive finance, and many more partners, like the EIB, the Social Performance Task Force, and the Microinsurance Network, just to name a few. Strong international cooperation is essential if we are to achieve the SDGs. And in this context, I would like to highlight the crucial role that platforms such as the European Microfinance Week can play in finding new solutions to these challenges. Therefore, I am particularly proud to open this year's edition of the European Microfinance Week, which has become a globally recognized event. I wish you all very fruitful discussions, and thank you for your attention.
So, dear participants at EMW2023, welcome to the first plenary of the conference. We are thrilled to start these 3 days with the celebration of the 10th anniversary of the Green, Inclusive and Climate Smart Finance Action Group, which was created in 2013 by initiative of a small group of e-MFP members, visionary at the time, that saw how relevant was and would be for the sector to deal with environmental issues. And you can see that in this quote from Gert from 2013, saying exactly that. So this plenary will start by looking into the first 10 years of the action group, and I'll be joined here and remotely by several of the action group heads from its origins, and you can see their names in the slide. In the second part, Davide Forcella will moderate a plenary discussion with different stakeholders looking into the present and future of the green inclusive finance sector. And so we'll start our walk down the memory lane with Gert, action group head between 2015 and 2017. And I'd like to start by thanking you, Gert, for joining us today in Luxembourg, now that you are working in a different area at the Netherlands Enterprise Agency. You are for sure one of the green pioneers in the financial inclusion sector, having already a report in 2008 about the triple bottom line for microfinance. So tell us what led you to focus on environmental issues and the action group.
Thank you very much, Joanna. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you today. And I was asked to say something about how this movement started, and I was one of the people who were part of starting this movement just by more or less accident. I was a research analyst in Triodos Bank, and Triodos Investment Management invested in a lot of microfinance institutions. And back in 2005, I was asked to do a short research to 12 of their investee partners. So I researched what my normal job was. I researched 12 of their MFI partners on sustainability. That was my job. And I found that all of these microfinance institutions, they were very clear in their intent. So they were talking about their mission and vision on women empowerment, on poverty reduction, and even some of them back in 2005 already talking about greening, about their environmental responsibility. So that was a good thing. But then when I read their annual reports, or sometimes their websites back in that time, I couldn't find any data or information in the success in achieving this mission. There was only information findable about their financial performance. So when there was a meeting in Triodos Bank where they invited these 12 investee partners, I presented my report and I said, why are you not more transparent on your performance on these issues? While in the corporate world and the financial sector, everybody is reporting these things, and you don't. And I think that you have something to say. And they said, yeah, maybe we this is an oversight. So then we started slowly. We started with the Social Performance Task Force, and later also with e-MFP, a green working group. We started to work with these MFIs to help them set up a triple bottom line reporting mechanism. And maybe we are not going to talk a lot about reporting, but I believe, and was what we found out then, was that reporting is not something you do just at the end when you are ready with everything. But the nice thing of reporting is that when you report, you have to start something first. So that helped us very much with getting microfinance institutions start to work on greening, on social performance, of course, with the Social Performance Task Force, but also on other topics, in order for them a year ahead or 2 years ahead to make sure that they could report on their performance. And that's more or less how things, as far as I was involved, started for me.
Thank you, Gert. And let's go to 2013, when Microenergy International led a small group of e-MFP members to create the Microfinance and Environment Action Group with ADA, Alterfin, FMO, PAMIGA, and Planet Finance. And Microenergy was at the helms of the action group for many years, since 2013 to 2019, and with different heads, as you've seen in the previous slide. Unfortunately, they couldn't join us today, but they sent us a video with their testimony, and we are hearing from Noara Kabir, CEO and founder of Microenergy.
Birthday Action Group Green Microfinance. As one of the founding members, I would like to congratulate all the organizations and individuals that have contributed to the founding of this action group, and particularly to its development, thus for the growth of the green microfinance sector worldwide. At Microenergy International, we had the privilege of observing the last 22 years the powerful, energetic, and crucial role of microfinance institutions in the bottom-up energy transition and ecological transformation of our societies. And this despite political and economical crises. Actually, many green microfinance initiatives have proven that renewable energies make households and small and medium enterprises more resilient and independent from macro crises. Having this in mind and making a long story short, I can only close with thank you for the action in the past, in the present, and in our all future. Thank you, Action Group, Green Microfinance. Thank you, European Microfinance Platform.
Okay, so moving to 2014, and in 2014, with the objective of raising awareness for the topic and building an instrument that allowed microfinance institutions to assess their green activities, the Action Group developed its main tool, the Green Index, and in its origins was the work of a PhD student at Université Libre de Bruxelles, Marion Allais. As the financial inclusion sector grew and the attention to its impact on environment and the effects of climate change increased, also the Green Index evolved, and you see in the chronology that in 2016 there was an update to the Green Index 2.0, and then in 2022 there was a substantial update that was done in parallel with the work with Cerise and SPTF in the development of Dimension 7 of the Universal Standards for Social and Environmental Performance Management. So we have Marion joining us remotely. And I hope, oh, here she is. Hi, Marion.
Hi, everybody.
So you were head of the Action Group between 2015 and 2017 when you were working at PAMIGA. You are now part of the Cerise SPTF team many years and tools later, so congratulations. So I have a question with two parts for you. First, what was the inspiration for your thesis and the work at the Action Group? And second, how do you see the work of the sector in terms of uptake of standards on environmental performance management?
Thanks, Joanna. First, apologies for not being here in person. It was not possible this time, but I'm happy to be here with you anyway. I've been in the sector for a while ago, and I remember my first time at the European Microfinance Week was back in 2009. As you said, at that time, I was a PhD student working on microfinance and the environmental bottom line, because I was already deeply convinced that a microfinance institution could not achieve its social mission or be sustainable if not looking at environmental issues. At that time, there were already a few pioneers working on this environmental dimension, and Gert was part of them. But, you know, as I was moving around, meeting people, asking my questions, there were also many reactions of denial or doubt, questioning, people saying, you know, we are already looking at our double bottom line. Why putting some additional burden on us? Or I also heard some very polite answers sometimes to my questions, like, sure, I do care about the planet, but, you know, right now I have some serious business to do. And so things have changed since then. And we can see that in the past 10, 15 years, as a PhD student, as a practitioner, as a co-head of the Action Group, I have been pushing, and we have collectively been pushing for a triple bottom line approach. So working on measurement tools, on pilot projects in the field, on experience sharing, etc. And all that time, you asked me for the source of inspiration. Well, actually, all that time, the work on social performance management has been a great source of inspiration. And this is why very early, as Gert mentioned, we started to work in collaboration with SPTF and with Cerise. And I think in the sector, we have to remember that at the beginning, the industry was also quite skeptical on social performance management. And for social performance management and client protection to be fully embraced by the sector, it actually took a crisis. It took even several over-indebtedness crises. And I want to make the parallel here with environmental issues, because regarding environmental issues, this is now that we are facing the crisis. This is now that we are realizing that we cannot consider environmental performance management as a side issue anymore. And this is now that finally, in collaboration with the action group, CERIS plus SPTF has developed a dedicated dimension 7 in the universal standards, which is a great achievement. And for me, because we're at a time of crisis, well, we need to change, we need a paradigm shift. We need to review our priorities. And I think we need to realize that actually this triple bottom line figure that you must see right now is not that accurate, because it shows financial, social, and environmental on an equal stage. The reality looks more like this figure that you see now. We all know that now we are at the edge of a sixth mass extinction. If we don't do anything, human beings will not survive. This is what is at stake. That's what we're really talking about here. So if human beings are not around, there's no more social objectives, there's no more economy. So that's also the message I wanted to share, that we need to really have all of this in mind today when we define our priorities in the sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Marian, for an insightful reply. Marian will be joining the panel discussion later, so she will be providing more of her experience. But now I just wanted to get back to Gert and to focus on other of the main activities of the action group, which is the training on green inclusive finance. Gert, the first green training was given by the action group in 2015. You were involved in many of the sessions that followed that session. How do you see the role of the action group in changing mindsets, sharing knowledge, exchanging experiences?
Yeah, I think the action group with Davide and with a lot of other people, we have created a lot of material that helps MFIs, helps financial institutions and inclusive finance to address greening through the Green Index. And the training material that we developed was not developed by us, let's say by consultants like us, like myself, but it was really developed during action group meetings. So it was nice to see that we had not just trainings, but we had really interactive sessions with practitioners, with investors, with all different kind of organizations that helped us to form and to develop these materials. And even when beyond the microfinance platform, I was involved in developing trainings for African Development Bank and for IFC, World Bank, for FMO, and we came back to the material that we developed as part of the work that we did with the action group. So the action group has actually done a lot of active, action-oriented work, not just having a couple of guys in front of them training them, but also really develop the material what they needed themselves, and therefore the action group I think was instrumental.
Thanks, Gert. And I think we are now approaching the present, and so I will ask Davide Forcella to join us on stage. And while Davide puts his headset, I was just going to say Davide is the action group head with more time coordinating the group. He's been action group head since 2015 till now. And he saw the group go from a few members to the current 150 individual members and from more than 75 organizations. During these 10 years, the action group has diversified its activities with development of different research projects, different trainings, a green library on green inclusive finance, a development of a cycle of webinars, among others. And you can see all these activities and resources through the action group webpage that you see in the slide. Davide, I would like to first congratulate you on the work done with all the action group heads and with Natalia Realpe, who is joining us in the panel. To make the transition to the present, can you just tell us a bit about the most recent projects of the action group, state of the art of the Green Inclusive Finance Report and the Green Map, and how these are important to address the information and knowledge gaps in the sector?
So, can you hear me? Super. So first of all, thanks a lot for everyone to be here. So it's fantastic to have this plenary. I should say it's very difficult to pass after Gert. I mean, my inspiration from the beginning Marion, that originally was also my teacher, as well as the Microenergy International was one of the first company I met in this field. So that is very inspiring. So that to say that we sit on the shoulder of giants, yeah, and we need everyone to do their own steps. So here, I think there is not just one responsible. It's really, as Gert is saying, has been a collective journey by hundreds of people. I should say, when we developed the Green Index 3.0, we had more than 300 participants in terms of feedback and more than hundreds of institutions, I think around 200. So it's really a collective effort. What we've been doing quite some stuff. I think next slide. So more recently, finally, because working with Gert on various studies, we always had to make the baseline. Okay, where do we stand? Who is doing what in green inclusive finance? It was always a pain. It was always difficult. Finally, thanks also with the work we've been doing with Edera and Natalia, we've been finally able to collect information in the last 10 years on what microfinance institutions are doing in green, and putting together more than 1,000 environmental assessment and understand the trends in the last 10 years, how the sector evolved. So we'll show one slide afterward in the second part. That I think is a major achievement, but we should not stay there. I mean, these things need to be done on a yearly basis. Yeah, that is just a call for action. We need to be able to do it. Just back a second. The other things I think is key has been done. Can you just go back one slide, please? Yes. Is understand the Green Index 3.0, of course. Yeah, that is really a major work that we did it, and we just look to do the 4.0 because climate change is changing, and adapting is a process. So we need to keep on adapting. The Green Map, as heard, is one of the major achievements we did this year. Yeah, thanks to the collaboration of various people and the support of Luxembourg Ministry. I think is a major first step. We thought about that, I think, more than 5 years ago, to be able to have in a map and understand who is doing what and understand the quality, why has been done, what has been learned. And finally, we put the seed for that. This again is a call for action. It will be useless if there is no follow-up, if you are not able to catalyze what the market is doing and keep on feeding with the experience of each one. Next. And closing, there is a lot of material, as Gert was saying, and we try to group the various learning and trainings we did since the last 10 years in a full-fledged set of trainings. I wrote 7 modules, but probably 8, so many, in 3 languages, and also with videos introductory, so everyone can take it. It's free of use, it's public. It's just if you want to use, you know, we have an MOU with you. Everyone can include in your training section, etc. So it's there to make it grow in the sector, and of course, case studies, similar things. So experience of the last 2022 experience with a lot of quality, why institution has been doing that, etc., etc. And again, here is a call for action. Case studies are useful if you make them evolve. They did it last year. They're saying what happened next year.
Thank you, Davide. I think we are finalizing we are really on the present now. So I'm going to thank Gert, Marion, Noara, even if she wasn't here in person, and Davide, and I will pass the session to you, and we will pass to the...
So please, I will invite my next set of speakers to come up, and eventually we can change the... Yes. Give a big clap. Joanna, can I just take the... Davide, come. Come on stage. As you prefer. It depends probably on that one. Even order of question, I think would be good. Yes. So there's 1, 2, and David is fine. It's fine. Yeah, yes, that's good. That's good. Okay, so thanks for this smooth transition. So we don't just want to, you know, tell you how good, how nice were the nice years before, how the sector evolved, but we really would like to give you some perspective of what has happened in the last month and years and what should happen in the future. And we try to bring that through a multiple perspective. So I will give the voice to each one of the speaker. I will try to explain their perspective from a researcher point of view, from investors, from financial institutions, from technology providers and co-eds, as well as then we'll have a remark again from Marion, try to close the loop of when the things start and how we will move forward. But before doing that, maybe couple of words. Yeah, I will take up the study we did recently, also building on the importance of data and sharing information, having an open access so that the sector can grow. As I was telling you some time ago, we have been collecting, and it took more than 1 year to be able to structure this information, more than 1,130 environmental assessment of over 850 microfinance institutions. I don't just want to show up, but it's important to know, as Gert was saying, there was activity already back in 2005. We have data. Now we need to start using it. And we start trying to answer a simple question. What is the trend? What has happened? Can we look beyond anecdotal evidence? And so we build this study. And the question is, how the sector doing? It's growing. Good things. First news is good. Yeah. And maybe this plot is a bit difficult to see. I just want to state two things. I have a pointer probably. I need to know how it works. This one. Perfect. So please focus just on this green one, green opportunities. Yeah. So green opportunity means is an institution providing green loans or providing some non-financial services support capacity on green practices like training, technical assistance, etc. You will see that back in 2000, like 10 years ago, this one was relatively low compared to, sorry, this was relatively low, and then it's been growing, yeah? It's been growing up, so that's good. And in particular, what has been grown? Two things. One is the renewable energy loans here, that has been always the most important part, and then growing up a bit leveling here. And then we see here, I think is an interesting trend, is this orange bar, that is about sustainable agriculture or climate smart agriculture, that 10 years ago was something absolutely exoteric. Yeah, we do green microfinance, we do solar panel. And we understood that there are more things. I think this is an important trend because point towards building resiliency. Yeah, but it's also a scaring one because it means many are doing because maybe it's needed. So the climate is, is affecting more and more the people that are in need. But are we really growing? Really? If you now look at the green index, our main tool that's supposed to assess the environmental performance of institution in a full-fledged strategy, risk, opportunities, etc. So you will like that the sector improve. And when we look in 10 years, instead, the value of the green index more or less has been stable. So you see even a bit decrease, that is probably statistics, but it's more or less stable. So while you see the green opportunities, so the green product has been grown, and that's very good because it's very difficult to develop products. So that means the sector gets mature to develop green loans, to finance green activities. All the part that is the basis of systemic change or institutional changes is not really there. Yeah, because strategy, risk management, etc., typically are done on a project by project basis, and this is a call for action. Yeah, let's have a good. I think we did good. That's I think I want to put it. We did good, but I also want to be critics before giving the floor to the rest of the panel. But I think we have not done enough yet. So honestly, we are doing together what we should have done yesterday. Yeah, so 2030 is tomorrow. We really need to move as a sector. I think there is still too much focus on project, piloting, case study, lesson learned. We still try to think who is doing what, rather to understand that climate change is here to stay. And there is no financial inclusion without building resiliencies. There is no social impact without building resiliencies. How can you ensure social impact if your working population will be affected the most by environmental degradation? Transformative ambition is still there, but it's not mature enough. That is my perception. I just speak by my own personal view. And there are a lot of activity and increased coordination, but still is exploratory mode. Who is doing what? What can I do? Rather, let's try to do it all together because it's something where everyone will gain if we do it together. So I think we need to stop to be afraid. Yeah, there is no way back. It's not like a mode. So 10 years ago, we were saying, okay, now we do green, before we do gender, then we do youth, then we do many other things. And we need to do everything. Unfortunately, in a scenario of climate change. Yeah, so this is here to stay. So I think there was a change. I want to cite Marion. She was not aware I'm citing her, but There is a positive change. So seed of change, I would say green inclusive finance has been changed a bit in terms of interpretation. Back in 2013, it's sort of do not harm, but basically saving pandas. That's really what we discussed with Marion back in time. Oh, yes, I like pandas, but as you said, I have other stuff to do. It was really something exoteric, not included into the business of the institution. Then slowly been evolved. Okay, we need a triple bottom line. We don't really know how to do, but we need it. And then you will hear more and more. Also this morning, we heard a speech from SIGAP that is really taking the angle of adapting to climate change, building resiliencies, or the need to build resiliencies. To understand the green inclusive finance is not just do not harm the environment, risk of exclusion of people. No, is building resiliencies, that is the core of inclusive finance, by the way, in a scenario where you have climate change and biodiversity degradation. So to close, I think the house is burning and it will burn more. So I don't think we need to just thinking maybe the fire will stop. These are the people that we suffer the most, that basically are the client of the person we want to impact, but everyone will be affected. Yeah, more than half of the GDP depends on nature. So there is no way we can escape. Are we offering, is our offer at the level of the challenge? Yeah. Yes, no, let's think about what we need to do more. I think we need to co-work and build appropriate solution for the appropriate problem we have. There's really a call for action. So opening the floor, I think often we heard, it's difficult to do it. For example, like investor, we say, oh, his nature is too long-term. I don't have this perspective. Okay, that's good. I mean, it's true. The natural asset is not liquid enough. They cannot invest, disinvest. Okay, but still is a reality. And now we have this approach often that should the nature does not adapt to my financial scheme. So should be nature to adapt to our finance constraint, or should we try to invent new ways to make finance where we can adapt to the need of nature so that we can finally finance the ecosystem out of which the vulnerable population depends on. So with this introduction, I'm pleased to open the floor to our fantastic set of speakers. And first of all, I would like to give the word to, first of all, let me introduce them. So Natalia Real Pecarillo here with me. So CEO of Edera, and of course co-heads with me since a while of the Green Inclusive and Climate Smart Finance Action Group. And actually, I think she was likely the sparkling fire that allowed us to progress so far in the last 4 years, because without her, we will not have this impulse. So we really need to acknowledge all the solutions she brings on the table, and also the power to say we need to do something new. She really brings new air into the action group. Davide Castellani is with us since decades, I would say. So will play the role of academic, so professor of banking and finance for the University of Bergamo. Veronica Herrera, so she will tell us about what we're actually doing in microfinance institutions, CEO from Microcredito. Michael Steld, senior advisor SME and climate finance from the European Investment Bank, telling us how is about the role of investor in the green transition. And of course, Marion Allais, that don't need presentation because already presented before, head of environment at SPTF. So passing the word to Natalia. You have been head of action group with me since a while. So what have been done, what are the key action, and how that will allow us to move forward the sector?
Oh, let's go back before. Yeah, who will know that just a coffee conversation will lead to where we stand today, or the huge amount of work that we have done in the past years. Yapo Solutions, Hannes Greff offered me just a kind question: why would you like to co-head this action group? And couldn't think what have been the dimension of this engagement. I was before with Microenergy International, developed catalogs, product catalogs, and also been active, seeing like these 10 persons discussing about the dimensions of the green index. And through these decades, and when I joined in 2019, and we had like this very ambitious plan of updating the green index, and considering that we have so many members of the European microfinance platform and beyond, being head of or leading an IT company, I brought the spirit that without IT tools and data management, thinking about big objectives was very hard. So the first thing that we did was to collect feedback on the Green Index. We developed digital survey for microfinance institutions, impact investors, and technical assistance providers, consultants in English, Spanish, and French, and to be sure that this Green Index will integrate all the indicators, actions, standards and concerns that the many stakeholders had. Then, as initially was the Green Index, it was just a table with not more than 25 lines in Excel and with three types of answers, yes, no, partially, and was very hard to, not hard, but the work that we have done with the state-of-the-art condensing the answers was very hard. So we have developed a digital tool for the Green Index and its version, the third version, being able to filled out by management of microfinance institutions and also by loan officers, and enable institutions to compare what is the sense in the field, what are the institutions financing, how is the perception of loan officers in risk management, and also the overview or the view from the management, and seeing their responses and actions in green inclusive finance. We have also developed an online library. After 10 years, we had more than 300 articles, PowerPoint presentations, materials. We have put them in a digital place. We had, in these 3 years, we had also support from different interns and students that had accompanied us and assisted in our activities. And for that, our e-learning platform was key to manage all the activities and knowledge that we were generating. And finally, our major work has been the Green Map. The information that you have there are more than 1,000 variables that we have collected from the microfinance institutions, quantitative and qualitative, narrative, and also very in-depth perceptions of what are microfinance institutions doing. Available also in the 3 languages with possibility of filtering, and all of these tools with the sense or with the purpose of enabling access to information. We saw this morning at the action group meeting that more than half of the full room was new members. We don't know if this is a good news or if we are just too late. But then what remains to me is that the need for data, for open access to lessons learned, to tools, to frameworks, and an alignment that can guide to everyone will be imperative and catapult to reach meaningful impact in green inclusive finance.
So thanks a lot, Natalia, for this introduction. And I think it's no matter to say that data and information is key if we want to understand where the sector is, how it's progressing. And we also have seen that with the support of EDER, we were able to transform things already doing digitally, so to make it scaling up and transmissible. So I think this is key. Now we're speaking about data, we have information, etc. But one another key element that typically need to make grow a sector is regulation. Yeah, is the regulation supporting this transition? And the other, of course, is more a business case. Is there a business case beyond the regulation? Is there a reason why microfinance institutions should move forward? There have been a lot of discussion in the last 10 years. So I think I will ask to Davide to guide us through a bit what is the feeling, what has been observing, what the role of regulation, and what is the feeling about the business case. Please, Davide.
Okay, so thank you very much, Davide. I remember one panel where there were 3 Davides, and so
I'm changing chairs.
Yeah,
it's very difficult.
So no, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to talk about the role of regulation. So on the one end, so green finance holds the potential for generating important benefits for the most excluded population, especially economically disadvantaged that bear the brunt of climate change. Green initiatives, they can actually they can be a powerful tool to reduce inequities, social and economic inequities. They can create, new employment opportunities. For example, let's think about, green energy projects or sustainable agricultural practices that can create new economic opportunities, new livelihoods for the marginalized population. But on the other end, the green investment and lending regulations can have some unintended consequences. Why is that? One of the motivation is because, for example, in the case of micro and small enterprises, there is a lot of scarcity about their green impact or their green footprint. There is also, most of them are not registered, so it's very difficult, to know what is their green credentials. And at the same time, assessing the greenness of micro enterprises is very costly because you have to incur in a fixed cost. So, and when we talk about small scale, I mean, the cost in proportion is much, much higher, right? Another motivation for another, let me say, layer of risk stems from the fact that most of the marginalized population can be employed in sectors that are not considered green. Okay, and so for example, there can be some, so they can be employed in some sectors or in some they conduct some agricultural practices that are not classified or they don't fall under the umbrella of green. Okay, and so there is a necessity to create an open discussion, an open forum between financial institution and regulatory bodies. Regulatory bodies all around the world, they strive to, to find this balance between, green regulation and financial inclusion. Is not easy, okay? But the risk is still there. So, so we need an open discussion. At the same time, I guess, so this, something that we can further explore. There are opportunities given by new technologies. So, for example, digital platforms or digital ledgers, they can be exploited, for example, to collect information about the greenness of these potentially excluded sectors, and so to track their greenness over time. So so the idea is to also not only focus on fostering green finance initiatives, but also to understand, to measure the performance of microfinance institutions, right? But also I think the focus should also be shifted to helping, supporting the clients in measuring their own financial green impact, greenness. So yes, and well, I can also add, that besides the green investment lending regulations, another risk is stems from the maladaptation policies and regulations. So let's think about the construction of a seawall that doesn't consider, for example, the impact on the ecosystems or the biodiversity, and that can lead to further exclusion. Another example can be the adoption of a monocrop that is drought resistant, but can also be can have impacts on the biodiversity, ecosystem, and can also lead to further exclusion, not only financial exclusion, economic, social exclusion in general.
Thank you, Davide. About the business case.
Yeah, that's
Because
a good
beyond
question.
regulation, of course, regulation should be there.
Yeah,
It helps to grow.
So, well, so let me say why is important the business case, because so far it's not well structured. So this morning, for example, we have heard, about the fact that most of green initiatives, they are supported by grants. There are grants in technical assistance, grants in, in supporting the premiums in weather insurance. There are grants everywhere, and that is a signal, that the business case is not there yet. So, so the question is how we can scale up, the green inclusive finance, and what can be some, some ideas that we can further explore. Okay, so one just to put on the table some initial insights that can be, helpful to explore further the business case. One of them is for sure portfolio diversification. So the fact that microfinance institution can engage into sectors, for example, that are less exposed to climate change, or they're more resilient to climate change. So that is going to bring some benefits. Another is probably a competitive edge, right? Because I mean, by engaging into green finance, I can on the one hand diversify, for example, my offer of financial services. At the same time, I'm building a sort of green brand into my institution that can be very attractive for social investors, for donors that are particularly interested into the green sector. I can increase the resilience, right, of my clients. So that is going to bring also a lot of benefits in terms of social and financial performance as well, and many others. But the point is that, I mean, most of these potential benefits have not been explored so far. So, and there is a need to build a business case to show, that there is a pipeline of successful cases that can then contribute to building the market and scale up.
Thank you. Maybe also we need to develop the taste for green, because we buy because it's green, not just because it generates additional things related to economics, finance, etc. That will be really the ecosystem transformation. Speaking about that, we are lucky to have Michael with us. So I heard that the European Investment Bank is the climate bank. So probably have something to tell us about how an actor like you and other similar investors can support the transition of the various layers of finance, be SME banks, being corporate bank, but also being specifically what is there for inclusive finance to transit toward green. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Davide. Does this work?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, we brand ourselves under two different brands. One is the EU Bank. The EU Bank, meaning the European Investment Bank, is owned by the 27 member states of the European Union, and we do most of our business inside the EU. But we also do 15% of our business outside the EU under a directorate that's called EIB Global. And these 15% correspond to more than 10 billion that we did in new business in signatures last year, for example. So we're actually quite a sizable player in the global arena as well. The second brand that we use, as Davide pointed out very clearly, is the Climate Bank. What does the Climate Bank mean? It means, for us, we take this very seriously, that we aim to have 50% of all our business, of all our new business, really dedicated toward green products. 50% towards green products. Doesn't mean that the other 50% would be brown products, but we will be 100% Paris aligned and 50% specifically dedicated to green products. And this has some repercussions in the business that we do with financial institutions, with banks and microfinance institutions that will come back a little later. So our business that we do, and I'm particularly working in an area that is called Inclusive Finance Advisory Unit of EIB Global. So I'm the advisory part, but I work very, very closely with our investment people together. So usually what we do in this in this arena of financial sector development, which is one part of what the EIB does, we work in infrastructure, we work in social sectors, and we work in MSME, which we work through local financial institutions. No? So when we work in MSME, we work on different issues. So we work through local banks and microfinance institutions. And for us, so we recently have looked into it in a 3-pillar approach. So one topic that we clearly work on is green finance. Another topic is social inclusion, where we specifically have programs for female entrepreneurs, for enterprises that create a lot of opportunities for young people, for example, for excluded parts of the population, rural areas, things like that. And then we have a 3rd pillar, which is called growth and competitiveness, where we finance digitalization projects, but also what we would call plain vanilla MSME finance. But this is less and less. So more and more, we are focusing on having substantial parts of our business in green and social areas. The products that we offer for financial institutions we work with, for our partner institutions, are not so different in the green area than they are in let's say in the more traditional areas. We work with loans, either hard currency, or in some instances we have the chance to offer also local currency loans. We work with portfolio guarantees, and we work with technical assistance. That's what we offer. Now, in the area of green finance, we're looking at, sometimes we have the possibility to also generate incentive grants on top of that in order to make it more attractive to the clients. But that depends a little bit on the attractiveness, on the availability of funds from donors also. So when we work with, when we give a credit line to a local financial institution, we now demand more and more that a certain percentage of this credit line is dedicated to green financing. Yeah? So, for example, in many instances, we now have at least a 30% threshold that goes to green finance, and this will increase over time. And I think in that we are fairly typical also for other IFIs, because I think this is where the world of IFIs will go. It will be more and more difficult to access really, let's say, flexible plain vanilla financing for MSME finance, but rather dedicated financing where green plays a big part. The idea of development finance institutions is always to somehow support the local financial systems, but also to nudge them a bit to go more into the direction of doing their job, actually, being their job of social inclusion, being their job of financing the green transition. So I see our work very much dedicated towards this goal. And this is where we have several initiatives that actually work very closely in that. So you have talked about the business case of green finance. In my experience, I mean, as I said, we as international financial institutions, we try to support institutions, but we are not really the driving factor behind it, right? The driving factor has to be a business case. And the business case can come, in my experience, out of 3 different strong forces that you can see. One is the market forces, meaning that if a bank has less and less margins in traditional easy business and has to look for new markets, then there is an inherent incentive to look for new markets and to go deeper into MSME finance or to go deeper into green finance opportunities. The second part is, it's not necessarily driving force, but you see that sometimes when you have some visionary leadership in a bank, and when you have a bank that really has, and with microfinance institutions, obviously this is something that is kind of inherent in their history, that you have really a vision and a willingness to go into that area. That's also a very strong driving force. And the third driving force, and you also mentioned that, is regulation. And I want to say a word to regulation, because we are also recently very involved in supporting regulatory activities. We have an advisory initiative in collaboration with the German government that is called Greening the Financial Systems, where we work. We do not do this in all countries in the world, but we have funds to support very deeply around 8 to 10 countries globally, where we really go into deep country programs, where we work on the one hand with the central banks or financial systems regulators to develop their regulations and policies for green finance. And there we speak of, for example, issues like scenario planning, climate scenario planning, climate stress testing, guidelines for sustainable finance, regulations, but also policies on how to support the financing of opportunities in the area of climate finance, because it's not only about risk, it's also about the opportunities. And then on the other hand, we also work with the financial institutions of the country to implement these regulations and policies, and also to detect and identify and finance then with our resources, hopefully, or with the resources of others, green opportunities. Yeah, and with this program, we have started already to work in Georgia and recently also in Kenya, and we will add more and more countries to this.
Super, Michael. That I think is great, and we heard about visionary. Yeah, we heard about support of financial microfinance institutions. So now I think is the moment, after this long introduction, to see what actually a microfinance institution can do to support the transition of their client into the green space. So I'm pleased to introduce you, Veronica Micredito.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for having us and share our experience in Nicaragua. I think I need a song. Yes.
I can do it if you
Oh,
want, or
thank you.
maybe you are more, you know more what is in your slide.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Micredito is based in started in Nicaragua many years ago, but we are a group, microfinance group based in Central America. And most recently, 3 years ago, we start to talk about green finance. So I'm going to share who is making Micredito around Central America and our experience. And I'm going to talk a little bit about who we are and what was our motivation to be in the green finance. And also, I'm going to share the product that we in concrete offer to our client. And some lessons learned that, of course, we have. How big is Micredito? Is $31 million in total access. As I mentioned, 23 million in total of portfolio. We are, as I mentioned, we were born in Nicaragua. More than 12,000 clients and 15 branches, including Costa Rica. We are in Costa Rica, and more than 120 employees. It's not the largest organization, but I would say it's the most committed with the green finance. As I mentioned, what is our motivation? First of all, green finance is aligned according with our mission. We have a mission, clear mission with triple bottom line, and is very similar that the practice that we have. Also, Micredito want to be part of the changes that in general the green world is making. And the last part that I'm going to stop a little bit is listen our clients. You know, find the voice of the clients is really, really important. I want to share a short history. I visit a rural area in Nicaragua that they don't have access to electricity. They don't have enough capacity to receive electricity. 5% of the total of the population in Nicaragua is still without electricity. So we listen to those clients and we say, oh, what happened here? There is a necessity, but at the same time, it's our mission. Yeah. So that's 3 are our motivation. And we made two kinds. One is clean energy, and the clean energy is efficient, but also it means to provide electricity to the population that they don't have access to electricity. And the second is water and sanitation. That's two we offer as a loan through different alliance. We recently make a study with Edera. It was really interesting to see how it's going on our products. And we detecting that our existing client, they need electricity. On some of them, water and sanitation. And we were proud, but at the same time, we a little bit disappointed because we say we are working in a clean energy, we are working with the existing client, and they don't have access to electricity. So those are the main aspects that we have. How we work this, we create alliance because we are finance. We are not focused on to provide solar energy or water and sanitation. We provide through different alliance. We have a local alliance to provide this kind of solution, solar panel, water and sanitation, but we made the loans, we made the finance. I don't know how much time we have.
Not that much.
Not so much that I'm going to be fast. So what is the impact that we approved since we start? Close to 10,000 people impact in the clean energy, water and sanitation. Around 8,000 people or family access to the energy, clean energy. And also we have another different activity that we can calculate this. Three trees we detecting, because I'm going to explain a little bit. I know that I don't have too much time, but I'm going to go fast. We reduce the papers and we calculate this, how we solve these three. And also we have clean campaign tourists. I'm going to show in this. I know that I don't have time. I'm going to.
Pues primeramente le doy gracias a Dios y a mi crédito porque me dio la oportunidad de mejorar mi sistema de vida. Pues compré el panel, la instalación, la bomba sumergible, el tanque y la torre.
O sea que aquí ya oscureciendo, ya a las 6 ya no se ve. Ya está en oscuro uno. Y ya con el panel por lo menos puede trabajar hasta las 8, a las 10 si quiere, porque con la luz todo se puede hacer.
Hace 30 años era letrina, pero a raíz que nacieron nuestras hijas, nosotros como que no miramos también eso muy bien, la letrina. Entonces cambiamos a inodoro y nosotros estamos muy agradecidos con mi crédito. Le agradecemos muy sinceramente el apoyo que nos ha dado.
So what is the lesson there? Before to that, I don't know how much time I have. Oh, okay. I would say we made some changes digital, as you mentioned. That is one of the big steps in the microfinance. Couple years ago, we reduced the using of the paper through the different digitalization. We 100% digital at all the process of credit that we have. But we learned some lessons like, for example, it's not easy when the team inside doesn't change their own discipline, you know? They want to go to the papers, they want to check, that is one of the things. The other build the capacity inside of the institution take time. It had to be patient with this, and the education to the clients also is another issue that we learn. And I think that's all. This guy take too much time.
So thanks a lot We are a bit over time, but I think has been mentioned the role of digitalization and data also this morning. So we repass the floor quickly to Natalia, that she's telling you a bit about why data and digital is so important for the green transformation.
It's how else to say how important it is as the testimony of saying we are offering this and we didn't know that we had still clients without electricity. How important it is to have access to data so that we know that those households that we're serving, first, that those are the needs. And now we see these images and these situations day by day. Yeah, we have those clients, and why did you have been with that client for years and you didn't know that have still problems with electricity? So once you have backing up with data, then you think about what is possible. So for us, or the message that I want to bring is all these efforts that we are doing, developing products, whether financial or non-financial, or developing programs, developing high ambitious projects to back that by knowledge of what are the needs of the clients, what are the needs of those markets where nobody else is coming, but only your partner microfinance institutions, not even the government. You are the ones who are providing that support. Can be the data with insights. Today we were seeing proposals of diaries accompanying the clients, not only this one data collection, but 2 days, 3 days, listen to them, or live with them and see what do they need. Then develop the product, be sure that you have this before and after. So you as institution management, but also all your employees are convinced that they are doing a change. And then this will only bring more investment and upscale those solutions. Data management is critical for sharing knowledge and boosting the sector's innovation. In the sense that you may have in your organizations employees with thousands of folders. Perhaps one employee left the company because saw another opportunity. What happened with all that data? All the lessons learned that you have, I invite to all types of organizations, think digital, think that you will have changing challenges, but you have already done that project, you have already that lesson learned, you had already that experience, and ensure that somehow you have access to that data. We haven't talked yet about artificial intelligence, but someday we are going to ask to ChatGPT, tell me the solution. Perhaps the solution is already with you. You have already accompanied that institution, and that institution is relying all their trust to you as the guidance, as the ones that are funding, the ones I see here pushing 10% of credits in green loans. What are those green loans? Sharing. What are those definitions? And one example is this green map, how we are sharing experiences, and hope that those experiences can also inspire other institutions. And last but not least, I would like to share the values that we have at the data. First is digital by design. Don't constrain your program objectives because of the Excel table, because you cannot ask any other question, because your questionnaire in Word document cannot be longer than five pages. If you think digitally and with the right tools, you can even ask very detailed data with very optimized skipping patterns and have the nuances that you need in order to provide that water tank, or to be sure that you can ask to your investees, please report to me this 100 of indicators. The 100 indicators is not a problem. It's how you are going to ask those indicators. How are you going to make sure that for them it's not a burden, but that it will be with smart ways of how they do their reporting. Ownership. The data that the clients have, it's valuable to everyone, from the clients itself to the microfinance institution, investors. All the data that you're collecting, own it, and take decisions based on that. Facilitate sharing of that data. Today, KfW asks, how can we align frameworks? How can we align definitions? How can we share experiences and not that every institution start by scratch. This is only possible with sharing. And last but not least, transparency. Yesterday, we had this session from CCAP, and I would say like the most insightful thing is everyone transparently saying, these are my challenges that I have, openly saying these are the problems, and saying, I have had this with my investees. Let's share the frameworks, let's share these strategies that we have because it didn't work with us. So perhaps you don't have to commit again the same mistakes because we don't have enough money going pilot by pilot, but we need something that it's already global. We cannot say it's only an effort from the action group, but rather for every stakeholder saying, how can we do this better with the tools that we already have, with the resources there? So this, an invitation that this opening and this sharing and that this conference is saving us thousands of webinars, of calls, of not think that this conference is money. So learn and listen, and that afterwards we have a very meaningful work ahead.
Thanks a lot, Natalia. So we are going toward the ends, but I think Marion is still there. So
yes.
she's there?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I heard the voice.
Yes, I am.
Super. So Marion, you told us at the beginning what you have been seeing when you were starting collecting the data for your PhD. You were there alone in a room, no one wanted to speak with you. Then you've been seeing some interest, the evolution of the sector. Now you see all this experience. And I see now with your various works you have that you're very much near to what various stakeholders are asking to the sector to move forward. So what is your impression of where we are today, where we are heading to, and is that the right direction? Can you give us some hint, please?
Thanks, Davide. Well, I must say that today, on one hand, I'm happy to see what we have accomplished. I'm happy to see that we finally have a dimension 7 on environmental performance management within the universal standards, a dimension 7 that has been developed in collaboration with the action group and that is aligned with the green index. I'm happy to see, I don't know if you see the slide, my first slide, but I'm happy to see that we have more and more resources available on the topic, like the ones you can find on SPI online website and on the action group website. I'm happy to see that we have more and more committed organizations doing great things like the one we just heard. There's already a huge amount of work that has been done. And so on that side, it's great and I'm really happy. But at the same time, I'm also still very frustrated because we do not go fast enough. We did not go fast enough and we are still not going fast enough. And also I'm very frustrated because I believe we're spending lots of time and energy on useless things. You can move to the next slide, please. The problem I see today in the sector is that we still have this approach where we want to control everything. We believe we can control everything. For instance, we want to have exclusion lists. An exclusion list, well, it looks nice, it's well defined. We have a clear list of activities that we don't want to finance. And it seems that with that, we have it under control, right? But these exclusion lists, sometimes they can lead to very absurd situations. I've heard, and I share with you, it's a true story. I've heard of an investment committee that was about to refuse to finance FSP in Zambia because the institution didn't have an exclusion list specifying that it would not finance deep sea fishing. But Zambia is a landlocked country, so what sense does it make to spend time and energy on that type of action? I want to share another example also. Something we like a lot is calculating CO2 emissions. So to be environmentally responsible, we believe we need to track any CO2 emission released in the atmosphere. But this is something quite complex and cumbersome to implement. So we start developing formulas and proxies and metrics and digital tools. But let me ask, for what use in the end? We know we are serving vulnerable populations, and we know they are not the ones emitting the most CO2. They are not the ones responsible for climate change. So, and in addition, if we are using some generic data, some standardized formulas to calculate CO2 emissions, what information is it giving us on our clients? nothing concrete, actually, nothing really useful to feed decision making and to help address environmental issue. But we are doing that because we are in this era of control. Can you move to next slide, please? So now I believe we really need to change a change of paradigm, because we are entering today a world of turbulence. The future will be made of significant turbulence that we will have to face. So the question will be, how do we resist and how do we adapt to a turbulent world? And please, next. And for me here, the main inspiration we can get can be found in living systems, because as you know, life started 3.8 billion years ago. And through evolution, what was selected was the ability of living beings to resist turbulence. So that's what we call robustness, the ability to maintain stability despite fluctuations. Can you move next, please? So we know living beings are robust, and we know that this robustness throughout 3.8 billion years has been built against performance. Scientific research has shown that to be robust, you need to go against performance and control. I don't have time right now to go in details, but if you're interested, I really invite you to listen to a researcher called Olivier Hamon on that topic. And we can move next. To link it with our sector. And here what I want to emphasize is that the solution is not on more performance, on more control, but really on building robustness, on building resiliency. The solution is not on building those giant wind turbines that you see in the picture here, because they require a huge amount of non-renewable, non-recyclable material, lots of energy as well. The solution is rather on having decentralized energy solutions that can be built with renewable material and that can be fixed locally. The solution is not on developing a fully digitalized high-tech agriculture depending on scarce resources, you know, the control thing. The solution is rather on promoting agroecological practices, agroforestry. And so as you see with those two examples, the good news here is that the solutions to build robustness, they are at the micro level. So they are in our hands, and the inclusive finance sector does have a critical role here to play to build this robustness. For that, if we want to be able to do that, we need to work as living beings do, as ecosystems. So collaborating with a wide range of actors. And so to conclude, we can move to my last slide. I want to say today there's no more time for losing time, no more time for tiny steps or compromise. And my key messages to you today really is, please engage now, aim at robustness, work as ecosystems, and dare to be radical. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Marianne. Thanks a lot. Voilà, so question and answer probably is a bit short, but I hope we brought through a journey where we have been starting this journey long ago, actually not us, but the sector, by trying to make inclusive finance green. Now we try to see rather how can we get inspired by green to adapt our financing. Yeah. So how do we do it differently? As Marianne was showing the planet is outside, right? So let's not try to make it sticking into our small world of profit and indicators. I think we have no time for question and answer. We have for one, maybe for one. No time. So probably because we were so clear, I guess you have no questions. All your questions have already been answered probably today. So we are very sorry. We try to provide you the more largest panel of different views. So we are very pleased to meet you here or outside for any clarification. I'm very happy that this year we had the opening on green and the action group, and I wish you all a fantastic conference.